Hello and welcome back to the Average Joe Magic the Gathering channel. Today I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on Arena, help you as a free-to-play player win more matches, get your dailies done, and just overall get some really cool stuff. So first tip is probably a pretty well known tip, but you go in here, you hit redeem code, enter code, and you type out play Ravnica with a capital P, capital R. This is going to give you free packs. You can only use it and redeem it once. This is pretty well known, but figured I'd include it just because if you don't know, it's worth knowing. Next thing is, if you got $5 to spend, the welcome bundle is more than worth purchasing. It's a great value and definitely worth spending the $5 on. I haven't done it yet just because I'm trying to keep this completely free, but I will likely do it in the future just because of the value that you get. The next tip is more of a cosmetic one, and it just gives your deck a little bit more flavor. So you go to the search bar, type in swamp or island, pretty much any of the basic lands. Go here to the advanced filters, hit reset. This will bring up all the different artwork for your basic lands, and they just look a lot cooler. Gives your deck some uniqueness among all the other ones. The one issue with this is every single time you do have to go back, hit restart or reset, and find the one that you like the most, add it, and then it wipes it again. So you have to repeat that process if you want multiple different artworks. If you just want the single artwork, then you can just always go over here, add them up. Not too hard to do, and it does give your deck a unique look compared to everybody else. The next thing I want to talk about is the MPE decks and what they're good for, what they're bad for, and how you should be using them. So these are designed obviously for the new player to get some cards, and you do get a lot of really good cards for free. It's a great way to welcome people to the game, especially after the change where they give you all of them. But you shouldn't edit these. So none of these are meant to be edited and changed. They're meant to be ran as is. So don't go in here and be like, oh, what would make this deck better? You know, I could add some sealaways. You know, give you more control. If you go in and you add sealaways to this deck, it's going to change its strength level in the algorithm that the game uses. And it's going to defeat the whole purpose of this deck. It's going to make it so you're facing much tougher opponents and your win rate is going to suffer dramatically. And it's sadly one of the things that I see a lot of people suggest people do, and it is a horrible suggestion for new players, and it's just a waste of magic cards. One very popular video used this deck and started adding extra threats to it, and you saw his win rate dramatically decrease from when he was first starting. It's because the game takes into account all the cards that you add. If you keep it as the standard NPE deck, you're most likely going to face NPE decks or creations that people have thrown together that are about the same strength level in card usage anyways as your deck. You're going to have a lot higher win percentage if you just keep these decks as they are. As far as strength on which ones you should be using to do your daily quest, for the most part, if you have one like this where it's 30 white or black spells, you just go here, take the one that has white and black cards, and play it. You might win, you might lose, but the goal of the day is just to knock out 30 spells as quickly as possible. So having cards that allow you to do that with either color is the best way to do it. Now, as far as your pack winning daily quest go, brain fart there, you want to use jungle secrets. Unmodified as is, and this is just a great deck. It's not tier 1 or tier 2, but it teaches you a lot about the game. It teaches you about tempo, it makes you think about what you should be doing and not doing, and it will really improve your overall gameplay if you're able to win with this deck consistently. And the last thing I want to talk about before we get into the actual game, and I show you tips there, is kind of back on the wild cards. Go to MTG Goldfish, watch YouTube videos, watch Grand Prix, you know, find a deck that you like and save your wild cards, count them up. You can build it on Goldfish and find out exactly the arena cost for it, and then you can spend your wild cards as needed to build that deck. If you're not sure the type of player you are, you know, you don't know if you're an aggro, control player, combo player, just play these decks. They're built to give you experience to try out different things. And even if you can't build the best aggro deck, you know, go in, add a whole bunch of 1-drops from what you got, some shock, some lightning bolts, and just build like a janky aggro deck and play with it. Sure, it may not be the best, but it's going to teach you how to play in that style. It's going to show you what that style kind of plays around and feels like. And then you can have a better understanding of what you want to build. Alright, so got us an opponent, and this is the first thing I want to talk about before the match even starts, is your hand. Whether you should keep or mulligan is one of the crucial things that separates good Magic players from bad Magic players, and it's really hard to do because depending on your deck and what it's trying to do and who you're facing will constantly change up if you should keep or mulligan a hand. But there are some basic things that you can think about when you're playing. So we have land base that works for everything in our hand. We don't have anything turn 1, but we do have a good turn 2, good turn 3, and going forward we should be able to draw into some other options. So I'm going to keep this hand, but that's what you should be asking. What can I do turn 1? What can I do turn 2? Do I have the land for what I want to do for turn 1 and 2? Because if you're purely relying on getting a lucky draw straight off the bat, it's not the best thing to do. It does work occasionally depending on your deck and what you're doing, but the best way to go about it is to have a hand that gives you options right away. And then another good thing to do is arrange your cards by mana cost. That way you know what you can do, when you can do it. Play that out there. Play him. Reveal. Reveal him. And we'll get a card. So this deck's all about tempo, keeping pace, and racing your opponent. So you want to deal with their threats, go past their threats, and just be attacking the face. This is not an MPE deck, so this should be a fun match. We'll see how this works out. Play that. We'll see if he blocks. Okay, no big deal. We can't do anything about flyers anyway, so we'll wait. We'll tap it down with the Weaver next turn, and we'll be able to deal some damage. Right now, he hasn't missed a land drop. He hasn't played any sorcery spells, but he likely has at least one in his hand. And that's another good thing to think about. You know, he hasn't been drawing sorcery spells that can actually respond to us, or not sorcery, instant or counters, because it's just been able to go straight through. So if you have a card in your hand, let's say a forest, and the rest of your hand is empty, go to full control. Make your opponent think that you have something even when you don't, just because it helps you bluff and allows you to psych out the opponent and gives you an advantage. You know, they may not attack a turn if they think that you have something that can respond to it. So we'll play that. Play keep that tapped down. And what's our opponent going to do? Nothing. Perfect. Then we'll play him. See what they're going to do. And we'll just attack. Now I'm not going to run through this whole game. I just wanted to give you a general overview of things that you should be thinking about, asking yourself, You know, don't just think about what I can do. Think about what your opponent can do. Like, he could shock, he could lava coil, Savannah fire, fire again. These are all questions that you should be asking yourself is, what can I do, what can my opponent do, and what's my game plan? Like for this, it's obviously that we want to cast that first, because whenever we cast a non-creature spell, it gets +1/+1. So we're going to do this, and it will also trigger that. And that's one thing that you need to think about is the order that you do things. So if I played that first, this would still be a 1/1. We're going to attack with everything because again we have nothing to deal with this guy. And there's very few answers even in this Merfolk deck. I can send it back to his hand, but that's about it. And keep it locked down. So we're going to keep it locked down. So hopefully we're able to send it back to his hand. And just keep hitting his face, and hopefully we win the race before he draws answers. There we go. But that's it for this video. I hope you guys learned some tips that will help you out and improve your gameplay. And more videos will be coming featuring budget decks and the terms of arena, not paper. So very uncommon focus decks that don't require a lot of rare or mythic rare cards, because even though it might be cheap on paper, in arena we all know that it's a whole different type of budget that you have to focus on and think about. We're gonna keep that, and that's gonna be it. I'm gonna attack with all, even though I shouldn't, just because that's the end of this video. Thank you guys for watching, and